I'm Sue Patterson, and this is the 90th episode of the Unschooling Mom2Mom podcast. We're wrapping up season 2 with 170,000 downloads. Not bad for only 2 years. I really appreciate all of you spreading the word and helping other families find us. Leaving comments, subscribing, sharing on social media, all of this helps the podcast powers that be know that this is worthwhile. I figured we should just chat this time about the podcast, about unschooling, about parenting. I don't know. What do you want to talk about? I'll start. The podcast, it started in March of 2021. So, like I said, this is the end of the second year. I haven't made too many changes. It's still a short 10 minutes or so because I remember clearly how busy life is when you have the kids home with you. Each of these podcasts are at all the favorite podcast platforms. But did you know they're also in blog post format at the unschoolingmom2mom.com website? And over there, I may have more links to resources that I mention or ways to help you dive deeper on your own. But so far, no fancy intros and outros, no music, just me chatting with you. It's kind of funny when I'm recording these, I envision you sitting at the table with me having a cup of coffee, or at a park day, sitting on the playscape with the kids, talking about how to overcome various fears we have all had at some point of time. Yes, my 3 are already grown, but man, those fears, I remember them clearly. Maybe I remember them because year after year, other moms and dads have expressed exactly the same ones. Fear that our choices will ruin the kids' chances for success. Fear that unschooling is just a little too unconventional. Fear about gaps in the kids' learning. Fear about doing something that no one else in our family has done. But then here's the hard part. What do you do when you know what you're doing isn't working? How far out do you want to go? What do you do when your kid is miserable or not learning or bored out of their mind? What do you do when unschooling feels so right in your heart, but your spouse or your mom is freaking out? What do you do when you feel time ticking and that you have to weigh this out and make a decision? Because not to decide is to decide, right? It's a decision in favor of the status quo. It's safe. No one will fault you for doing what so many others have done. Wring their hands, badmouth the schools, tell the kids to do their best, and just let time march on. Eventually, they'll graduate, right? And all of this angst you're feeling, it'll be behind you. Maybe. I hear from parents who say, I wish I had figured this out sooner. Or our lives are so much better now that we're unschooling. I wish I had been brave enough to unschool my older kids. I mean, we do the best we can with the information we have at the time, right? But I'm handing you some solutions. And if you're listening to this podcast, you can't say you've never heard of unschooling or how other families have made it work. I think it's because we have had all those years in school and it was like a conveyor belt. We could put in a little effort, or maybe not even, but the belt would move us along from one teacher to the next, from one grade to the next, on to adulthood. Whether we retained what we learned or not, didn't really matter. Passing the test on Friday, then letting it all go. That was most people's experience. Sure, we had a few good teachers here and there, or they seemed good compared to some of the others we had. Maybe some of that's relative, but we remember a little about what they talked about. And if we actually use it in our adult lives or we had some interest in it, we retained it, but most of it fell by the wayside. So here we are, the grown-ups in charge. And we have to make some decisions for our kids and our lives. So I have 4 things I want you to know. I think it may help. Number 1, you do have the courage to do this. Yes, it will be different. And the voices in your head will rise up to make you doubt. But I have a ton of resources to support you. You don't have to do this alone. Number 2, unschooling really does work. Kids don't have to jump through all the hoops that schools have convinced us are necessary to be successful in life, whatever that means. Usually, for a lot of people, it means getting into college or finding a career or being happy. Unschooled kids do all those things. School or the school approach was not the only answer. My own 3 kids are living proof of this. I'll link to podcast number 55 about what my grown unschooled kids did not learn. It's one of the more popular podcasts. I think I'll go see which other podcasts were the most popular this past season, and I'll link to them in the show notes or at the blog post. Number 3, doors will not close if you choose to unschool. In fact, more doors will open for your kids. They will have had a childhood where you helped them learn more about themselves, how they like to learn, what they like versus what everyone else tells them they should like. And you get to have a closer relationship with them, helping them navigate their way through. And number 4, lastly, sometimes we get immobilized thinking our choices are forever choices. They're not. You can choose to get off the conveyor belt and get back on if you want, or see what it's like to not be on it and then modify as you go. We've had a lot of conditioning to not trust ourselves, but you really can do this, and every day offers choices for how you want to live your life. You should grab the unschooling resources that fit you, whether you learn better in a group or with me one-to-one, or you're more of a DIY type and you like to watch videos or read PDFs or listen to podcasts. I've created the scaffolding that you need so that you're not out there flailing around in the breeze. All you have to do is reach out. You can email me and describe what's going on, and I can help point you in the direction to find what will fit you. I have no big agenda to sell you a bunch of stuff. I just want you to be successful, and I want you to see that unschooling is an option that will work. And if you're already in the membership group, be sure you're tapping into everything there. The coaching calls, even the recordings if you can't make it, the private membership portal with resources to help you overcome whatever is bothering you, the various platforms to connect with other unschooling parents to help you brainstorm. And if you're not in the group, you could always join for just a few months or longer if you want to save a little money. So that's plenty for this week, our wrap up of season 2 of the Unschooling Mom2Mom podcast. I hope it's been helpful. Let me know if you have topics you'd like me to discuss in season 3. Share the podcast you like on social media and help other parents see that they have options too. I'll add unschooling resource links to the show notes and the blog post. And I'll be back again next week, where I'm going to try to get back to weekly. So here I am, even with my little cold, recording away. I'm going to even start uploading some of these to the Unschooling Mom2Mom YouTube channel. Anyway, take care, enjoy your kids, and I'll be back to talk with you again next week.